Okay, welcome to the channel. This is Talking College Football with Luke, Anwar, and Dan. And check this out. We're going to give away the DANWAR Awards, selected by our esteemed analysts. They've been bold all year long, like talking about Arizona State is going to make the Final Four. That was by one of our guests. Please raise your hand who said that. Okay. And the next person who said that he thought Illinois was going to be one of the top teams, and then he backed out and said Indiana. Please raise your hand who said that. There they are. They make bold statements. That's why they are doing the first annual and what will become the most coveted awards in all of sports, the DANWARs, named after Dan Pedraza and Anwar, the DANWAR Awards. We have our own trophy. Nobody's going to receive it, but we have a trophy. All right, guys, let's get right into it. The very first award, as presented by Dan Pedraza, he is going to tell you who the most fun player to watch was in 2025.
All right.
The nominees are
my first DANWAR award. I think this is a guy that if you ask 100 college football fans, at least 60 are going to say it's Jeremiah Love. He's just been unstoppable this year. He's just a monster. Especially the last few weeks, he's been trying to really push that Heisman campaign. He's just been running all over teams. So Jeremiah Love, congratulations, out of Notre Dame.
Jeremiah Love from Dan on the DANWAR Awards. Anwar.
Congratulations. So, for my DANWAR award for most fun player to watch, this is not an award for the best player. In fact, this player had a really weak season. However, whenever this player touches the ball, it's either a drop or the most amazing play you've ever seen. And my DANWAR award, because of the unpredictability, my DANWAR award goes to Ryan Williams. He's a fun player to watch. So,
and what school did he go to?
From Alabama.
All right. DANWAR award from Anwar, Ryan Williams. All right. The actual best player in college football, and we're not talking about the Heisman, we're talking about the actual best player in college football. And the nominees are Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech, Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt, and Jacob Rodriguez, again, Texas Tech. Well, I guess I know who's going to win. Dan, who is your actual best player in college football? The DANWAR goes to?
You know, I thought he was so good, I put him down twice for a nominee. Jacob Rodriguez has just been outright dominant. He leads the league in forced fumbles. He's just been a wrecking crew on the field, a one-man wrecking crew.
Anwar, your half of the DANWAR award goes to?
For my half of the DANWAR award, I'm going to go with the player who is probably going to be first pick in the NFL draft, in the 2028 draft. I'm going to go with Jeremiah Smith, an absolute monster, athletically built. If Ohio State really got him the ball more often, or if he was double covered, he would be by far the best player in college football. So I'm going to go Jeremiah Smith for my DANWAR award.
Again, this is what will become the most coveted awards in all of college football. Here we go, guys. As selected by you, all of 2025, every team, all 136 teams times 12. That's a lot of football. That's almost 1,500 games. And it came down to this: the best game to watch all year long. The nominees came from Georgia versus Tennessee, Penn State, Indiana, South Carolina, Texas A&M. And Dan, your DANWAR game of the year to watch was?
My game was Tennessee at Georgia. This game was so good it went to overtime. A Georgia team. It was a high-scoring game. Both teams scored in the 40s, and this game had us thinking that Tennessee was a real contender. They played so well against Georgia that we thought maybe Tennessee's really good. That's what kept them around the rankings for a while until finally they fell out near the end of the season. But great game, Tennessee versus Georgia.
So Dan's Donwar Award goes to Georgia, Tennessee. All right. Anwar's half of the Donwar Award goes to, for Best Game of the Year.
Half of the Donwar Award was somehow not even mentioned in the nominees list. That's how good it was. My best game of the year, and by far for me, the best game to watch this year was Texas A&M Notre Dame. This was an insane game. It had everything from long Jeremiah Smith runs to Texas A&M wide receivers breaking all over the backfield. And then it comes down to the fourth quarter, final minute drive, last second touchdown. You had the botch snap from Tyler Buckner. You had the kickoff return that was taken back. It was an insane game. This is the only game of the year where I was just like fully standing up watching it. It was that good. So my best game of the year, out and about, was Texas A&M versus Notre Dame.
All right, so there you have it. All right. The next Donwar is for the biggest loss of the season, and the nominees are Illinois versus Indiana and Virginia versus Duke. Dan, your half of the Donwar Award winner is?
It is Illinois versus Indiana. That was just a beatdown. Like you said at the beginning of the show, I thought Illinois was going to be a playoff team at the beginning of the season, and this just killed that in one game. Illinois lost 10 to 63. Just got destroyed by Indiana. And this is kind of what proved Indiana is a top team. This is when people really started taking them serious. Illinois was ranked number 9 at the time, and Indiana, I think, was 19. Big. It was, at the time, it was an upset. Right now it sounds crazy, but I mean, you look at what Indiana's done since then. So, biggest loss of the year.
And Anwar, your half of the Donwar Awards, biggest loss of the season winner is?
Donwar Award for biggest loss of the season is Virginia versus Duke. So I went in a little bit of a different way of thinking versus Dan. Dan was looking at an absolute blowout. I was thinking of which loss, when I saw that question, I was thinking which loss was the most important loss of the season. You have Virginia losing to Duke in the ACC championship game. This is probably maybe the only time in their history that Virginia is playing for ACC championship with a spot on the playoffs on the line. You're against a 7-5 Duke team, and you let them win the ACC. They shouldn't have even been there. My heart was actually broken for Virginia in that moment. And that, like, when I say the biggest loss, I mean the most painful loss in the way I was thinking about it. So I think the most painful loss of the season was Virginia versus Duke in the ACC championship.
So there you have it, straight from the lips of the analyst. So here we go, moving along fast. And this is a sad one. The most disappointing team this year. The nominees are, drum roll please, Clemson Tigers from South Carolina, Penn State from Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. Dan, your winner. Oh, and LSU from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Dan, your winner for most disappointing team of the year is?
You know, I'm going to say that it was Penn State. I wanted to say LSU at first because they had some highs at the beginning of the season, beating another team on this list, Clemson, which made us think they were good. And then it turns out both teams suck. But overall, Penn State. Penn State was ranked number 2 overall in the AP poll. They were ranked number 1 in our rankings, and they ended up unranked. They barely made a bowl game. They fired their coach. They had a whole fiasco hiring a new coach. They ended up with 130-something recruiting class. Definitely Penn State for me.
And Anwar, your half of the Donwar Awards most disappointing team winner is?
Yeah, you know, this one, I wanted to go LSU. I wanted to go to Clemson. Like Dan was saying, that game was just a ruse. That game was just an absolute ruse. That game, week 1, had us all fooled. We were like, wow, the both of these teams are so good, and like Brian Kelly is here to stay, and then everything went down the drain for both of those teams. However, nothing can top Penn State in their disappointment season. These guys were picked to win the championship by pretty much like almost all of us on the panel. They're coming back with Drew Aller, 2 running backs. Their whole defense came back just to go 6-6 and fire their coach, and really came so close to beating Oregon, which would have completely turned around their season. So for me, like Dan, this is a clear winner, and the most disappointing season was the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Well, the Donwars are moving along fast. Here is the next one. By the way, gentlemen, you've seen the trophy, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, let's show it again to our audience right here. That is the DANWAR Award trophy. Anyway, let's move on to the funniest off-the-field moment. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Funniest off-the-field moment, DANWAR Award winner is Dan.
All right, mine was when it came out that Lane Kiffin's daughter was dating an LSU player a week before they played each other, and now Lane Kiffin is that guy's coach. Whit Weeks is the player. I believe he's a linebacker at LSU. That was just a little funny drama on the outside of the field.
That is an award that just keeps on giving. Not only did it give it the week before the LSU Ole Miss game, the game itself, Lane Kiffin getting fired, and all of next year. Great award, Dan. Anwar, your half of the DANWAR funniest off-the-field moment winner is?
Yeah, so I'm going to go in a similar direction as Dan, but a little bit different. I'm just going to go with the Lane Kiffin firing as a whole. So there's a lot of deep backstory behind this. I'm reading up on the history of Lane Kiffin, and apparently he's done this to multiple other teams where he just ups and leaves and just pisses everybody off, has a great season, and just up and leaves. And this happened in the past, and it to happen again is just hilarious. You've got these Ole Miss fans, and they're booing him off the tarmac. They go out to the airport, they throw his his clothes out onto the street. He's just and Ole Miss is having a great season. And then you have the whole thing with the ESPN reporter who just stuck in Mississippi for 3 days waiting for news, and we just keep waiting for news to happen and nothing's coming out. It was just overall a hilarious thing, and as you expect from the troll of college football himself, Lane Kiffin, wanting attention and making a hilarious moment out of something that should have been really simple.
I'm going to add to that Lane Kiffin story. My favorite time he got fired was after USC lost the game. The plane landed. As soon as he got off the plane, the team went in first. He got fired on the tarmac. Now that's what I called going out in a blaze of glory. You guys missed one of the best stories, in my opinion. That's the Penn State coaching fiasco. And that's another story It was a nominee.
Yeah.
But let's think about it. We talked about how the Lane Kiffin story keeps giving. Penn State story is going to continue to give, as it took them forever to find a coach. They lost all of their recruits. Virginia Tech hires James Franklin, who flips all but 2 Penn State players. And here, check this out. They are going to dominate Penn State for years to come. Anyway, the next DANWAR goes.
Nominee. Can I get one more nominee for the funniest
It's
one?
your show. You do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dan, I'm sorry. This is going to disappoint you. But one of the funniest moments of this season also happened this weekend. And it was the absolute, outcry by the Notre Dame AD after not getting in the playoffs. That was just hilarious. Bro, the Notre Dame fans were going off online. We're going to cancel our bowl game, and we're joining the SEC, and we need to, do a MON, so we, a memento of understanding or something, sign it, and then like if we're 12, like we won't ever get left out of the playoffs, and canceling the bowl game. This is just actually a really funny situation. I feel bad for Notre Dame, but the whole like outcry by the AD was just a very funny situation.
Yeah, we'll go more in depth in that next time we have an actual show. I have some thoughts on that.
All right. So this is a tough one right here. The best single play of the season award. Dan, your half of the Donwar Award, best single play of the season winner is?
It is Omar Cooper Jr.'s touchdown catch over Penn State, and I think Anwar is going to have the same one. This catch was insane. I was watching another game actually while this one was going on because this is at the point where Penn State was kind of out of it. Nobody thought they'd be a threat. But the game ended, and I switched to Indiana Penn State at the last minute. Turned it on right when this play was going, right before he threw the ball. And I just saw it with my eyes. They reviewed it for like 5 minutes. It took forever. They saw, no, he was in. That play was absurd. I think that's the best player of the year. I think that's kind of what sealed Fernando Mendoza as a real Heisman candidate and maybe winner. This play was absurd. It was amazing, and it helped Indiana win the game. Who knows if they'd be the number 1 seed if they had lost.
Anwar, your choice. Your half of the Donwar best single play of the season winner is?
So for the first time in the Donwar Awards history, me and Dan have agreed on an answer. First time in history is the double award winner. My Donwar Award for this best play of the season also goes to Omar Cooper's catch in the fourth quarter in the last second of the Penn State-Indiana game. Now, this was, like Dan was mentioning, this was a wild catch. I don't know how bro jumped that high. He got, like, you know how in Mario when you jump and then you get like a little double jump? Like, he did an actual double jump. It was insane. Then came down, brought the left foot from touching out of bounds, and somehow got his right foot in. It was the most, just the jump, the catch, and the ability to land the second foot in while like floating in the air. It was insane, and the clutch moment of it, insane play. And we can't forget Charlie Becker's catch, the like 2 plays before that, which would have been on this list if that play didn't trump it. But wow, what a play. And I think that play was so good, we both agree. So
wow, fantastic selection. So the next Donwar Award is for the most surprising coach firing. Dan, your half of the Donwar Awards nominees, and your winner is?
My winner is James Franklin. We've been talking about James Franklin and Penn State a lot, and I think we're going to keep on talking about him. People had talked about it, but nobody really thought it was going to happen, that Penn State was going to fire James Franklin. It's kind of like how with Ryan Day last year after he lost Michigan State. People were saying, fire him, fire him, fire him. You know, we see in the end it worked out. They didn't fire him. And I kind of thought that's how this was going to be with James Franklin, but they pulled the trigger and they did it, and we saw what that did to their program. So, yeah, James Franklin getting fired at Penn State was my biggest surprise.
I couldn't agree with you more. Anwar, your half of the Donwar's most surprising coach firing of the year winner is?
So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction than Dan and you did here as well. I'm going to go, my most surprising firing was actually Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. And the reason why is because this guy has only been there for 2 years, and I feel like he was really starting to build that program. You know, they bring in Aiden Childs, their recruiting starts to take off, and this firing was really low-key. Like, I feel like really no one expected it, and, you know, I feel like Michigan State is not one of these programs where it's like, if you don't win year 2, you're fired. And because of that, when I heard the news, I was like, wait, really? Like, they fired Jonathan Smith? Like, I thought, you know, he had success at Oregon State, and I thought he could bring Michigan State some success. I was surprised they let him go so early, and I'm surprised that they found a new coach so fast. So, for me, my most surprising coach firing was actually Jonathan Smith at Michigan.
Jonathan Smith, who was 500 at Oregon State, right? and you
He
replace
brought
him
them
with.
success in his last season, their last season in the Pac-12.
Okay, let's think about that. 500 at Oregon State and under 500 at Michigan State. Michigan State brings in a big time donor who drops $401 million. And right off the bat, Pat Fitzgerald is hired 20 minutes later with a brand new budget for NIL. The person who took Northwestern to 3 Big Ten championships. And you're surprised that Jonathan Smith was
I'm surprised at the timing
fired?
of it being with his first 2 years of the program. Like I feel like coaches don't get fired that fast, especially like especially a rebuilding team like Michigan State was after the Mel Tucker scandal and everything. Michigan State's been hit with scandals a long time, and I feel like Jonathan Smith, scandalous. You never hear anything bad about him. I was just kind of surprised that they pulled the trigger so early.
All right. Let's move on. The DANWAR Award for Best True Freshman. Dan, your half of the DANWAR Award goes to
Bear Bachmeier from BYU, quarterback. This guy's been really good. We've talked about before how under the radar BYU has been this year, but they only had 2 losses, and that's to one team. So Bear Bachmeier has been good. I didn't even know he was a true freshman until I really started paying attention to them. I just assumed that he was just a veteran player because that's just how he plays. So he's only going to get better. BYU, I think, is going to get better, and they're going to have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove after being left out of this college football playoff. And they're going to come back for revenge next year. They retained their coach. They fought for him. They got the crumble cookies money now. Bear Bachmeier and BYU are going to be pretty good.
Oh. All right, I'm looking at how your nominees, both of you guys. I'm like, and I don't see Bear Brockmeyer's name on here at all. Okay. No. Anwar, your half of the Donwar Best True Freshman. Give me your nominees and your winner.
For sure. So first of all, I want to say great pick by Dan, actually. Bear Bachmeier is one of these type of guys where you like look up and you're like, wait, he's a freshman? Like, I honestly forgot he's a freshman. But shout out to him coming in after a tough situation after BYU loses their quarterback. However, my nominees were Bo Jackson, running back from Ohio State, filling in that role for after you lose Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. Big shoes to fill. And he took the starting spot over James Peoples. However, he's not my winner, though. My winner is actually Malachi Toney, running back or wide receiver at Miami. He is Miami's offense, really. Miami, like they don't have as many receivers around him. He really makes the Miami offense run, and he is already one of the most exciting players to watch in college football. He was barely not on my list for most exciting players to watch. He's fast. He can make insane catches. Great route runner. I'm going to go with Malachi Toney, wide receiver at Miami.
Wow, we're wrapping this up fast, and I hope that our fans have enjoyed the show so far. If you have a comment on who you think should be nominated for award or winning of an award, please let us know in the comments below. So, the next Donwar Award is for the Hot Seat Coach of the Year 2026. The nominees are Mike Norvell, Florida State, Luke Fickell, Wisconsin, Lincoln Riley, USC, and Sharon Moore, Michigan. Dan, your half of the Hot Seat Coach of the Year 2026 winner is
Mike Norvell from Florida State. Florida State, another team that started out good, but turned out they suck. They started the season with a win over Alabama, making everybody question Alabama. People were calling for Kalen DeBoer's head, saying that he should get fired, but, turn around, look at it now. Alabama's in the playoff. Florida State, they weren't even going to make a bowl until all the dropouts started happening, and then they were offered a bowl, and then they turned it down. But, yeah, it got so bad that Florida State's AD had to put out a statement saying, hey, we are not firing Mike Norvell. And then also came out recently that they were really trying to get Lane Kiffin also, trying to see if he would leave. And then when he turned him down, they were like, all right, we're going to keep him, We don't want to pay his buyout unless it's for him. So, I mean, just, he's got to watch his back. The only reason he's still coaching there is because of the buyout money. But I also have a couple honorable mentions that I didn't actually put into our pre-production honorable mentions that I just thought of, coming from the NFL side. Bill Belichick and Deion Sanders both came in with a lot of hype this year, and both teams were awful. Bill Belichick, there's a lot going on behind the scenes where just what's going on in this program? Like what's going on with his girlfriend? She's suing reporters now. How much control is going on in a UNC locker room? A lot of the recruits are leaving, and then so does he really have what it takes still, and especially in college? And then Deion Sanders, I've loved watching his teams the last few years. They're just been entertaining. He's entertaining. He's a good coach, I think, but it just isn't working right now at Colorado. They were 1-8 in Big 12 play. They finished 15th in the Big 12, and they were 3-9 overall, with one or two of those teams wins coming over FCS teams. Watch his back, and I hope that he goes somewhere better if he does get fired.
I'm surprised that neither one of you talked about the UNC as one of the funniest moments off the field fiascos between Coach Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend and Pablo Torre and everybody else involved. So, Anwar, your winner for the DANWAR Hot Seat Coach of the Year 2026 winner is?
So I'm going to go in a little bit different direction than Dan as well here. I think actually the obvious answer for this is Mike Norvell. So I agree with him. Like, I really think that the coach in the hot seat next year is Mike Norvell. Let's be honest, he's in the hot seat this year and should have been fired this year. But I'm talking about like looking forward to the future and whether a coach can like bring his team to the goals that they want to be. And I think like a lot of people need to look more at Sharon Moore over at Michigan. You bring in Bryce Underwood, pay him $1 million, whatever, and then not $1 million, $12 million if we're being more
$12 million.
But like at the same time, like how are you gonna bring in this quarterback and still have an anemic passing offense? It doesn't make sense. You have seen like Bryce Underwood hasn't really developed since he's been at his time at Michigan. Like you expect him from his first game as a freshman to his last game in his freshman season to have developed a lot. But we saw in that Ohio State game. I know Ohio State has a great defense, but he did not look good at all in that game. He really did nothing. And Michigan, they've gone back with this offensive struggle, and I don't think Sharon Moore is the coach to like bring them out of this offensive struggle. I think they didn't really want to hire him in the first place because they kind of just came off that scandal with the cheating, and they kind of needed a coach right away that would be okay with the scandals from the program, and they had to go with Sharon Moore. I think he could be a big name on the hot seat list in 2026, especially if he can't get some weapons around Bryce Underwood, or we don't see any more improvement from Bryce Underwood in the 2026 season.
Sorry to cut in on you, but we got some breaking news. We just finished recording our show for Thursday. About 5 hours later, we found out that Sharon Moore is out after 2 seasons as Michigan's head coach. Michigan fired Sharon Moore for cause on Wednesday after a university investigation found that Moore had engaged in inappropriate relationships with a staff member, according to a statement by Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel. He's been replaced by associate head coach Bill Pogge, and we'll see what goes. He's the interim coach, and we'll see what goes here for now. But as you can see, our analysts are spot on when we started talking about coaches that we think that are going to be on a hot spot or hot seat for next year. Sharon Moore was selected by our very own analyst, Anwar Thornton. Okay, now we'll return you to the regular broadcast of our Talking College Football special award show, the DANWAR Awards. All right, so there you have it for hot seat looking ahead Coach of the Year awards for 2026. All right, the next DANWAR Award is for Best Uniform Combo. Dan, I need you to give me your nominees, and then you're going to have to describe the look because we may not be able to get a picture to pop it up.
All right. So, if you want me to give me another nominee, I would say Notre Dame, obviously, with the gold domes. But my number one actual best uniform of the year right now, because I don't want to be too much of a homer, is the San Diego State University, the Aztecs. Their home uniform is insane. I love it. It's black shirt, black pants, and the helmet has a black stripe running through the middle. But on the sides of the helmet are kind of a red Aztec calendar. Aztec Mayan looking calendar, and that's also on the shoulders right here on the sleeves. It just looks really cool. I love how it connects to their mascot, the Aztecs. It just looks scary. I can imagine that on a Saturday night, just coming out to San Diego and playing them there.
Congratulations, San Diego State Aztecs, winning the DANWAR Best Uniform Award, Dan's side. Now, Anwar, your half of the DANWAR Award Best Uniform combo is your nominees and your winner.
Sure. So, I don't know if you looked at the submission sheet, but I actually put a high school team as one of my nominees. My favorite uniform is actually a high school team. Their team is it's Cox Mill High School from North Carolina. I saw one of their uniforms pop up on my Instagram. Goodness, this is a beautiful uniform. I'm like a sucker for unique color combinations. So they've got like this turquoise, light purple, white. It's like looks like one of those paper cups that you see in like from the old like the 90s. Beautiful uniforms. However, this is a college football channel. So my other nominee is Northwestern with the Gothic uniforms, the black and the gold. Oh my gosh, that looks incredible. However, my champion for this season, 2025, best uniform combination is, sticking with the Mountain West theme, is the New Mexico Lobos. So they dropped a new turquoise uniform this year. I love turquoise. I love interesting color combinations on uniforms. Here, I got a little picture of it pulled up. So, like you see, they've got the turquoise. I've never seen a turquoise jersey before. I think those are fire. And on the helmet, they've got, instead of like, a lobo or whatever, they've got the New Mexico state flag, and the New Mexico state flag is a banger of a state flag. It's a great state flag. So, with the color combination, with the great helmet, with the two little red stripes in the middle, man, I would love to get me a little New Mexico jersey. I don't know anybody on that team, but they've got a great turquoise jersey. Shout out to turquoise.
Next time you're in the great state of New Mexico, you can get turquoise stones everywhere. So I'm going to give you one. Game 12, Ohio State. Anytime they put on all those leaves on the helmet, to me, that is the best uniform combo of the year winner. But I'm not voting. And it's called the DANWAR Awards. All right. We're going to move along because we only got a few more minutes left on the DANWAR Awards program. The DANWAR Award for biggest upset of the year? Dan, do you have any nominees and your winner?
Yeah, I'll just go straight to the winner since we're running low on time. We already talked about this one a little bit earlier, and I kind of foreshadowed it a little bit. But Penn State losing to UCLA is just huge. Early in the season, they were hyped up preseason. This was coming off of their loss to Oregon, but that was a close loss to an Oregon team that was ranked pretty high, and they're still ranked in the top 10. So people thought, okay, they lost to a good team. Who cares? It was in overtime. But now, next week, they just got straight up beat by UCLA in an empty Rose Bowl. Nobody saw that coming. It's funny watching the clips and just seeing like nobody in the stands because nobody thought it was worth going to. And I think that this combined with the Oregon loss really just set Penn State's season into a downspin.
Anwar, your 2025 DANWAR Award for biggest upset of the year do you have nominees and a winner?
Yeah, so my nominee was actually Dan's choice. It was the Penn State UCLA. I agree with a lot of things he said. However, let me take you back to week 1. All right, you have an Alabama team coming off a great season. Well, not a great season, like a good, above average season, with big expectations going into 2025. Year 2, Kalen DeBoer bringing back his trusty offensive coordinator from Washington, and we expected a big offense. We expected big leaps for Bama. You have FSU coming off of a 2-win season and really no expectations for this year. Alabama goes on the road at Florida State, and Florida State absolutely dominated them. And especially knowing now what we know at the end of the season, being that FSU was terrible and Bama is pretty good, playoff good, maybe not national championship good. Wink, wink. They're not winning the national championship this year, but still, that's a playoff team. And the fact that FSU beat them on the road week 1, so not the road, at home week 1, still even if it was at home, that didn't change. FSU was not a good team. I still can't wrap my head around how FSU beat that Bama team. So that's my upset pick of the year. Although it happened in week 1, but it's FSU versus Bama.
All right. The DANWAR Awards will continue. We are the Temu of college sports awards. Speaking of Temu, I ordered a group of fake $100 bills. I figured they would at least be full size, right? Looks great. It even says motion picture dollars on there. You see how small this thing is? It's like the size of a business card. So, Temu, equivalent to the
$100
DANWAR Awards.
Nah, the
Okay.
DANWAR Awards gotta at least be AliExpress, man. We gotta go step up. We gotta go
DHK. We're DHK.
All right.
TikTok marketplace.
The next
or something.
Donwar Award is for Best Player Name of 25, and we whittled it down to 3. The nominees were Dude Person, Central Arkansas; Mobility, Rice; Indiana Jones, I never even heard of this school, Rocky Mountain; and for 2025 Donwar Best Player Name winner is
Dude Person. There was some tough competition for this one. These are all crazy for different reasons. All 3 of them. You know, in Indiana Jones, his name isn't even Indiana Jones. It's just a nickname. And there's a guy named actual Indiana Jones. But I ended up going with Dude Person because it's just such a plain but yet funny name. It's not one of these wild out there names that you see in some of the other ones like Mobility. But Dude Person is just the perfect level of it sounds normal, but it's also just wild when you actually hear it.
Dude Person.
Okay, Anwar. Your Donwar Award Best Player Name 2025 winner is?
So I'm going to go with Mobility. Cornerback Rice. What kind of name is this, bro? Okay, you know his parents, right? He getting born and wow, our last name is Bility. Well, this is what they're thinking. They're we got dreams. He's got to go D1, right? You cannot be named Mobility and not be fast, not be a quarterback, not be D1. This man was set up for greatness out the womb. You can't fail with that name. And also the fact that he's not a lineman or something, but a cornerback where you need mobility. Beautiful. It's perfect. And with the MOH, ability, come on now, guys. Mobility. Best name in college football.
I'm hoping that he has a brother named Abraham or something, so he could be Ability.
That would be a good one. But I did have to look up his name just now, and it's MOH. And when I saw that, I said, okay, it has to be a Muslim or Arabic name, and it is Muhammad Bility. So shortened to Mobility. All right. Guys, we're in the final stretch. We are down to, unless you guys have any other ancillary stuff, the Donwar Award for the team that will win it all this year. The nominees were Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas A&M, or the field. Dan, your DANWAR team that will win it all this year, and this is on the record, Dan. No changing back later. We're going to keep track of this. Who you got?
Indiana Hoosiers. That's all I say.
Enough said?
Yep.
Enough said. Anwar, your half of the DANWAR, the team that will win it all this year, is...
You see, guys, you see this hat? It actually, it has my prediction on it right here, actually. I'm going to still stick with Ohio State. I know that Dan's team, Indiana, just beat them. And I'm going to do my best to take, the homer out of it, right? However, if you watch that Ohio State game, there were some odd things going on in that game. Ohio State did not open up the playbook. It was a really bland game calling. I feel like Ohio State was kind of still hungover from the Michigan game, having that big emotional win, coming to the Big Ten championship. In a way, I kind of feel like they didn't really care. It kind of felt that they didn't really care in that game. I still think Ohio State is the most talented roster in the playoffs, and we've seen what happens when you let Ryan Day in the playoffs after a 13-10 loss. In 2024, the year they did win the national championship, the last game before the playoffs they played, 13-10 loss. This season, 13-10 loss. Exact same score. They went into a different mode once they hit the playoffs. So I think they go back to back. However, a team that if Ohio State doesn't win it, I can see Indiana. Another team that nobody's mentioned is Georgia. Georgia is playing strong right now. I'm definitely scared to see Georgia. That would be a semifinal game if Ohio State did play Georgia. That's going to be a tough game, and that's going to be a fun one to watch if it happens.
All right.
I have one question about that, Anwar. You said you were talking about Ohio State's playbook. How much of that do you think has to do with the fact that they lost their offensive coordinator?
I think that could be a big portion of that. That's a good question. Like he was mentioning, offensive coordinator Brian Hartline is taking the job at USF. However, I do believe he's going to coach in the playoffs. However, we can't have a play calling game like that. If Ohio State has some bland play calling like that, they will lose again. We're going to have to go back to the offense that they had against Michigan, the offense from the playoffs last year. Open it up, spread the ball around. Ohio State is not a run the ball down your throat type team this year. They're a air it out team. They're a run and gun team, and that we just didn't see that against Indiana. They did not let the wide receivers eat. Brian Hartline was busy going back to South Florida all up this week. Hopefully, he can just lock in during the playoffs, but we'll see. But we can't have play calling like that, or they will.
Well, I think that good question, Dan. Good answer, Anwar. I think it was a combination of everything you said, carry over from the Michigan game, because they celebrated. Every time you looked at the news, they were still talking about it, even on Wednesday, knowing that you got the Big Ten championship coming up. Then on National Signing Day, we find out that Hartline is leaving. Then you find out we got three flips all of a sudden. I can't remember their names right now, but their biggest one, their only 5-star they had was Chris Henry. Ryan Day had to do the old dog and pony thing to get him to stay. I guess they're going to get the kid back from who went to Tennessee back. Then I'm still venting over the loss. Then I felt that they took forever to make a change at right guard where Tegra Tispola sucked. And of those 5 sacks they gave up in the first half, and I put this out when I did the instant reaction, came through him. And they made the change in the second half and no more sacks. Gee, do you think there's some sort of correlation there? So I am going to give you my answer. Buckeyes win it all, just like we said at the beginning of the season when we had Penn State. So keep that in mind, number one. But we also said Ohio State had a chance to three-peat. So, guys, it's been a great year. We got 5 more minutes. The microphone is open. Anything you want to talk about for the next 5 minutes, we can. Also, people watching our show, and this show will be up all year long, so these picks will be there. If you like our content, man, we need your help. We need to grow. We just need to grow. We just need you to subscribe. You watch us, you're not subscribing. We need you to subscribe. We don't send you any emails. The only thing we ask is that when you subscribe, click that little notification bell. So when we post, you'll get some stuff. You'll get our show. Guys, we got 4 minutes. Where are we at?
Let me bring up one random topic.
I knew you were going to go first.
This is a complete. We'll spend 30 seconds on this. So we had this discussion on the best uniforms in college football, and this is just an observation of mine, but I think Nike is ruining college football uniforms right now.
What is?
Nike, they used to be so creative back when they had all these companies doing uniforms for college football teams. You had Adidas, you had New Balance. Like, everybody was putting out new designs every week, and I feel like in the past 2 years, Nike has gone back to a very basic look. Every team has shoulder stripes. Every team has the one stripe in the middle. It's getting boring. Every team is kind of going back through a throwback look. Where's the innovation? Where's the cool, like, Nike V Tech, like, special, like, you see Ohio State, they don't wear the black uniforms anymore. Every year Ohio State was putting out gray uniforms, We're back to just the same old gray pants, red jersey, gray helmet. Like, where's the innovation? I haven't seen it these last 2 years. I feel like college uniforms are taking a downward trend right now, and that's just one observation.
Didn't the lead designer from Nike die a couple years ago? I think so.
All right.
Your brother Miles would know. He keeps up with that type of stuff. Dan?
That explain it. Well, yeah, I've heard that about Nike and other sports too. I know when the NBA first adopted Nike, the jerseys were ripping. There was a lack of creativity, and then MLB, same thing. There were a lot of complaints about the MLB Nike uniforms. We saw they did their City Connects. I know this isn't a baseball show, but like there were like 5 really good ones, and the other 25 were trash. So Nike might be just, I don't know. I like Nike. I wear a lot of Jordans, but maybe they shouldn't have too much power. I like it when teams can pick and choose, and it's not like a league wide thing.
All right. Well, I'm going to give out 2 awards. I'm going to give one. I'm going to start off with we'll call it the Luke Award. It's still a Donwar Award, where we have one guy who is in Japan who gets up it's 15 hours ahead of us, and he's live every week to be on our show. That's great reporting. And watch his video on Luke Thornton living life about living in Japan. I'll put a link down below. To live in Japan, do you really need to be able to speak the language or not?
That depends where you live. I would say that if you are in Tokyo or Osaka, you should be fine with English. It's very useful to learn some Japanese, but overall there's a decent amount of people that speak English in those places. If you move anywhere outside of those places, you need to know Japanese. Currently, I'm living about an hour and a half away from Tokyo, and even though it's pretty close to Tokyo, honestly, completely different vibe. This is the country. I'm living kind of in the country right now, and I'm kind of working in the country. So yes, Japanese language is a must here. But even if you do live in Tokyo or Osaka, a city where many people may speak English, I would highly suggest learning some basic Japanese. It'll help you a lot.
And then another person who gives us hard-hitting analysis from his EMT truck.
Hey guys, it's Daniel. I just got off a shift in the ambulance, and I've had some time to think about Notre Dame's situation going into the college football playoffs right now. So, as we all know, Notre Dame is not in a conference, so they don't have a conference championship game to play. So they'll be off this weekend, but a few of the teams either slightly in front of them and slightly behind them are playing. And they could cause a big problem for Notre Dame. So right now, Notre Dame's ranked number 10 in the country. And right behind them is BYU at 11, and then behind BYU is Miami, ranked number 12. And then Alabama's number 9, right ahead of Notre Dame.
Nobody else has a person actually at work as a EMT doing a pissed off analysis about Notre Dame not getting into the playoffs other than Dan. And by the way, Dan, that was the most viewed show we had all year long. So Dan gets that award.
All right.
You can't.
Host of the year. Yeah, not to mention making the questions, hosting the show, kind of organizing everything.
Thank you guys. Well, since we're and then Miss Renee the barber supplying us with meals. So anyway, see you on the next show. That will be our predictor show. We're gonna have about 4 games? Yeah, 4 games to talk about next Thursday at 10 a.m. Tune in, and we will tell you who's going to win that's the quarterfinals, right? Yeah, quarterfinals. Or is that what is that what they call it? Anyway, guys, thank you. See you next week. Subscribe, like, subscribe, and share. Talk to you later.